What's up? This is Madison with Real Social Dynamics, and I'm here today in Miami on Havana Street, and I want to talk to you about a new series here. It's called My Millionaire Friends Told Me to Read. It's a new series, it's a book club basically, about books that my millionaire friends told me to read, obviously, right? We can't all be fortunate to know people like that or know billionaires, so what are they reading? What are they doing in life? I'm going to explain that, explain what their minds are focused on so you can focus on the same things. I have a philosophy when it comes to reading books. My philosophy is basically, I'm not going to take advice about health from a person that doesn't have the health that I want. I'm not going to take financial advice from a person that doesn't have the financial life that I want. I'm only going to take advice from people that have that result in the area of life that I want. Makes sense, right? So that's what we're going to do in this series. Books that my millionaire friends told me to read about business, about wealth financially, about physical wealth, etc. I might branch off into it a little bit, but that's the gist of it. So we're sitting here in LA, in the mansion, with the one and only my housemate, roommate, CEO of Advanced Nutrients, Big Mike. What's up, man?
Things are going good today. It's good to see you, like sitting here, doing what you're doing. Most of the time you're, like half naked in your underwear, eating cereal in my house and eating breakfast.
That is true. That is true. You see me at my best and at my worst.
I haven't either, and vice versa.
Yeah, that's
right.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know Big Mike, he's the CEO of Advanced Nutrients, a company that does $50 million a year. They also do most of the fertilization for marijuana products all across the world, right? They're the number one company for that. So, we're in the house, we're talking a lot, and we have these conversations, like these little conversations that are amazing. And I wanted to bring people into that because I think people don't have the opportunity to be around this house, right? It's like this house is a mastermind group of internet marketers and YouTube celebrities and directors and Playboy bunnies and
oh, this is a crazy house.
It's a crazy house. All kinds of people coming through. And if you can have a sneak peek, if you could have had a sneak peek into the conversations that we have, it'd be amazing. So one of these conversations in the kitchen is I only want to read books of people that have the result in life that I want, all right? I'm not going to go to somebody who's fat for health advice. I'm not going to go to somebody who's poor for financial advice. I only want to read books of people that have the result in that particular area of life that I want. So I asked him, what are the best business books you read? And one of the books he recommended to me was 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, right? An amazing book, fantastic book. And I've actually read the branding version of it, which is 21 Immutable Laws of Branding and the Marketing. So I've read both now, actually. And they really changed my life. So I want to talk to you about the book, not only do a book review, but talk to you about some of the subjects in the book and kind of ask you how do you perceive those subjects? How did you kind of incorporate those subjects into your business? And just kind of what those words mean to you, right? So one of the thoughts in the book was, or one of the chapters in the book is leadership. It says, you got to be the first
to market.
First to market, or if you can't be the biggest, you got to be the first. And usually we only remember the first. How did that affect you in Advanced Nutrients and kind of some of the strategies you had?
Well, first of all, every business owner should read that book. And the book is very simple to understand, and but you have to grasp that. Now, can some of those rules be broken? Yeah, if you really know what you're doing. There's exceptions to every rule. Obviously, you got your outliers, your black swans. This kind of stuff happens. But for the most part, that book is incredibly accurate as to what the marketplace will do. So you mentioned leadership. So being first to market is always very, very important. Usually the person who is first to market, unless they really screw things up badly, will remain in that dominant position. So if that's the case, it's not the end of the world. You can change categories. Is what you should do is look for reclassifying under a different category. So in the book, they give the example of batteries. So Rayovac batteries were out there, and there were some other brands. And then along came Duracell, which was an alkaline battery, which created a new category. And based on that new category, they were able to kill off the old batteries. Well, in Advanced Nutrients, most all nutrients have to be what they call pH balanced. You have to play chemist. Well, I found a way that you don't have to do that. So there's a new category called pH perfect, where it is self-adjusting nutrient program where you don't have to balance the pH. So that is a whole new category. Now, to kill my competitors, what do I have to do? Well, you have to go after their what is called their Achilles heel, their weak spot. Well, the weak spot is that all these other companies don't balance pH automatically. So there's the most basic thing, if you ever want to convince somebody of something, is a live demonstration. That's why at the fairs and carnivals, you see those guys, they do an actual live demonstration on what works. So seeing is, the old adage, seeing is believing.
Same thing with real social dynamics as well. Like guys don't believe until they see the infield clips or they see, come along and we'll do that stuff in real life.
Absolutely. So the second best thing is then a video of the actual live demonstration. So what we did is we made videos that show, here's what happens when you dump the competitor's nutrients into the reservoir. Here's what happens when you dump our product into the reservoir. So people can see it live in real time, no cuts, what's going on and what happens. And so we made a series of videos like that and we put it out into the marketplace. So not only did we create a new category, but then we went after the weak underbelly of our competitors by putting out these demonstration videos. And so that's how you then create that new category, by showing people what it can do for you.
There's a part of the book that always talked about like categories versus line extensions, right? They have a lot of things they say. So if you guys didn't read it yet, they say, you have to decide about starting a new category or a new line extension. What happens if you have a brand like Miller, right? I think it's the alcohol company, and they have Miller Lite. Miller Lite never actually sells as good as Miller. It actually takes away from Miller's sales.
Correct.
And there's a lot of competitors that try to do that, and it just takes away from their own main brand sales. So how did you balance product lines versus product categories in business?
It's a bitch, because people want to take the path of least resistance, even business owners. And it's really easy to do a line extension. But the long story short is, it's been proven over time and time again. And by the way, we're looking for what I call the advantage of the slight edge. You don't have to be twice as good as your competitor, or even 50% good as your competitor. You can be 10% better than your competitor, 15% better than your competitor, and you're going to realize the majority of the profits. Case in point, let's look at a pro basketball team, right? You got LA there with Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant makes whatever, $80 million a year. Well, the guy who's sitting on the bench, who's number 6, the 6th man, or even the 5th man on the team, is probably making 5, 6, 8 million. Now, is Kobe 1,000% better than the guy sitting on the bench? No, he's not. He might be only 10, 15% better. So the advantage of the slight edge plays a big part in what you're doing. So back to the point, it was exactly the question that you asked was?
Product line versus...
Product line, okay, so product line. So with the product line, the line extension, it's just real easy with a product line extension, it's real easy to fall into a trap of the path of least resistance and take that. And the case in point is, you're going to lose money in the long run if you do that. And so when I say advantage of the slight edge, it's like being the house and playing the odds. All you want to do is stack the odds in your favor more time than your competitor has, and it doesn't have to be that much that you're going to come out ahead. So you don't want to do line extension. I call it's just the easy way out. Instead, you want to build another brand. So in my company, we're a premium product, and we have a product now that is what's called it's a low-cost entry point for one of our products. But in people's minds, they're like, well, how can this be so low price point when this is a premium? It automatically confuses the marketplace. So I had to actually bring out a different brand that still carries the advanced nutrients seal made by, it's going to be on there. So people, in fact, that's what a lot of companies will do. They'll put that somewhere, their brand, on usually in the back label. And over time, they'll actually take that off once the brand starts standing on its own legs. So in this case, it has our little flag. By law, it has to have it on it. It says it's manufactured by us. But it's a different line. It's called Bud Factory. And that is a low-cost, affordable, entry-level line with no pH perfect, very simple to use. But had I put both those products into the one family, people would have been very, very easily confused. And people get a lot more easily confused than you think that they are. I talked to 2 billionaires, and I can remember the 2 takeaways that I got from both these guys is the simpler you make things and especially if you take a complex thing and make it extremely simple for people to understand, that's where you're going to get your market share. That is where you're going to make the money. And I can remember explaining them some things that I thought was like drop dead, freaking simple. And they looked at me and go, that's too complicated. He goes, you understand your product, you're in the marketplace. But people don't.
The more you tell me that story about the product line, the category, I think of Banana Republic and Old Navy and the Gap, right?
Yeah.
3 different like tiered levels. Premium, they got their middle brand, they got their entry level, which is kind of like Old Navy. And yeah, if they were all combined, everybody would be confused. They had to literally separate it into other categories.
Yeah, you want a different message to market. You want to approach that marketplace different because those people are looking for something different. So in the case here, I created another company to go to marketplace with. And I still have another set of products that I have to peel out of the AEM product line, and I have to start a third company. And that's what I'll be doing. And that means its own website, it stands on its own, it runs like a different company entirely. And different message to marketplace, so yeah.
So that actually leads me to another point. One of the other points of the book was being a brand is supposed to have a position in the person's mind,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
So it's not even about how big the brand or how good the brand is. It's like, can you play that, let's say imagine a keyboard with 61 notes or whatever. It's like, can you play that single note over and over again so it sticks out in the person's mind? How do you think that applied to you when you did business and staying on the competitor's mind as this is what we do, it's different than everybody else, we're the number one at this?
So the first thing that so I call them brain buckets, what you're talking about. And every brain bucket has a ladder in it. And people can remember 7 things plus or minus 2, the average person. That's what phone numbers are like, 7 digits, they used to be. And the more expensive the product, the shorter the list is, the more it's a commodity, the longer that ladder will be. But every category has that you have a brain bucket for everything. You just don't realize it. So if I think luxury cars, you probably might think Mercedes, BMW. If I say, supercar, you might think Ferrari, Lamborghini. If I said ultra luxury, Rolls-Royce, Bentley. They hold those number 1 and 2 positions. Batteries, Duracell. The next one might be Eveready, whatever it is. But there is a natural brain bucket that we have, and you want to be in that number 1 position or number 2. Funny enough, Jack Welch at GE when he took over the company, it was losing shitloads of money. And he just sat down and he said, listen, every single company that we are not number 1 or number 2 in the category, sell it immediately, get rid of it. And he only kept the number 1 and number 2 positions. And listen, once someone has that number 1 position, it is really hard to dethrone them. Companies have spent billions of dollars to try to dethrone the number 1. It's probably the most difficult thing to do. It's better if you just make differentiation and create a new category in someone's mind. In my particular case, there was already a number 1, and I actually dethroned him. And I did it because of the differentiation point. When we came to market, we were not shy about saying that our nutrients were for marijuana. No one else had the balls to say it, or quite frankly had done the research to know what the plant actually wanted, where we had actually done that. And so we came out and we said, hey, we're for marijuana. And we were the only ones out there. So when people think of a brand of fertilizer for marijuana, Advanced Nutrients comes to mind as that, because we took that position from day 1 because they were too scared. And because of that, I was able to dethrone number 1. So did I create a different category? Yeah, I said, these nutrients are for marijuana. Everybody else in the marketplace said, oh, we're for hydroponics. We grow tomatoes, we grow eggplants, we grow lettuce, we grow yada yada, blah, 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 blah. That's not what people want to hear. The guy who grows weed wants to talk about what he wants to grow.
So they were using the product for that. They would use the product for that anyways. They just wouldn't label it or say that's what it was.
Right. So, but into people's brains, right? The ladder in people's brains, that's what they were missing. So we came out and we said that we were for marijuana.
It reminds me of something actually, how to raise the pickup industry. So back, I think after the book, The Game came out, right?
Sure.
Everybody was doing routines and stuff like that. Routines, and it was popular, it was fine. Nothing wrong with routines, but just everybody was doing them. And then what RSD
Nothing
did,
wrong with routine if it's an original routine that you thought of, and you kind of hold it there before it gets out. Yeah. But in your position, you got to share with everybody. So.
Exactly. So the person, as long as you enjoy the routine, Mike knows about pickup, by the way, obviously, right? So as long as you enjoy the routine more than the actual results of the routine's fine. If you enjoy saying it, right? It's like a story between buddies. You're like, hey, let me tell you this crazy story that I have. Yeah. It's like you have this story, you just like to share. So after the book, The Game came out, Real Social Dynamics said, Tyler called everybody. It's like, we're all going natural. We're all going natural. That was kind of a term that wasn't really discussed back then. Yeah. But natural means like no routines, right? We're all being natural. Being ourselves and authentic. Yeah. Exactly, being authentic. And that was
so many people are so afraid to do that though. Yeah. To stand naked in front of somebody. And you know what? The more naked that you stand in front of somebody, including a chick, it works wonders. It is disarming. It is. Yeah. That's my biggest thing. I just like be who I am. And it's hard to do though.
It's hard to do. Well, if you get enough references, enough memories of yourself being successful, being your pure self, putting yourself on the line, then it's like, wow, who is this guy? People all think you're on drugs. Like, why are you so confident being yourself? Are you on drugs right now? Are you like why are you so happy being yourself? But you can be. So that was the category that RSD kind of became number one. I think in position people's minds.
And it was smart because I looked at in a lot of my mastermind groups. I had some pickup guys, who were doing their thing, and Eben Pagan and David D'Angelo, and he's the same guy, and he was doing his thing, and he was big at that time. And I studied I looked at a lot of the stuff they're doing. I'm going, it just wasn't for me. And then when RSD started doing the natural stuff, I go, this is the way it should be done. And it's powerful stuff. Like that stuff really works the natural. And it is a major point of differential. Do you want to be a canned line guy, or do you want to be a natural where it's just like breathing, that you can go out and go out, be successful in any place that you want to be, in any social situation, not just guys, but guys, girls, or just guys. You have to talk to. Works real well, extremely well. I love it.
So, is there any other things from the book, like chapters or lessons that you got from the book that stood out in your mind?
It's just, look, I studied just a shitload of marketing before I read that particular book, and that book really connected a couple of the dots. I said, yeah, this is what I've observed too, and this is what I'm going to now implement. And I have, and I've done it, and it works. I'm walking living proof of that book. What's in it works. Every business owner should read that, and there's a few other books that they should be reading too.
We'll save those books because we don't want them to get, because then we get to do it again to have another video.
No, absolutely. Like for you, anytime you want to do this, I love this stuff. Like I don't got no marketing product to sell or whatever. I just like helping people and talking to them, because being a business owner is one of the toughest things in the world. People don't realize how tough it really is.
Yeah, there's so many mistakes you can make. There's so many. I think.
Yeah. I'm still making them, dude. Still making them.
I remember I wrote my first business plan when I was 18, and that went out the window. And then I worked in fashion marketing for fashion companies, and that went out the window. I was like, there's so many books you can read, and there's so many books that are theory and not practical application. Like we're talking about Brian Tracy a moment ago there. He's practical application, step by step. Do this. And do it this way, and you get this result.
I can remember, I had a Brian Tracy. I used to get stuff from Nightingale Conant 30 years ago. Buying these cassettes and listening to them as I'm driving my library on wheels. And I can remember in negotiating courses and stuff that I bought. I still use this stuff today in negotiation.
Yeah, this stuff is really good. I have a friend named Derek that recommends that book as well. No Excuses. And actually about the 22 laws. So I'm reading the book. I was in New York about a month and a half ago. And I tell Brandon Carter, you probably know Brandon Carter.
Oh, he's been in the house. Yeah, Brandon's a great guy.
Brandon Carter, he has, you guys check out his YouTube. He has about 40 million views on YouTube about fitness and health. Million subscribers and 40 million views. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm reading these books that Big Mike told me about. He's like, cool. He's like, what are them? And I named the other 3 or 4 you told me. And I mentioned the 22 laws. And he's like, I read that too. He's like, that's my shit. That's my shit. And I said, if everybody who's being successful is reading this book, there's got to be something in there, right? There's got to be something about it that opens up another area of your mind, or lets you see things from a different paradigm, and you can sit back and handle situations differently. There's something about it. So at that point, I even doubled down on it extra hard, and I read it, and it gave me a lot of ideas too. So even my pickup stuff now, I've kind of titled my stuff like grown ass game or character based pickup or like boss frames or like king frames. Like that's the way I'm doing it. So it's going to be very different than what everybody else is doing, creating a new category, being, you know, the #1 premium in that category. You know, not doing like line extensions with it, being the first in mind, all the kind of stuff that kind of relates to it, you know, doing what you do best. And mostly just like how you mentioned before as well, doubling down on strengths, right? Like think, what are you good at? What are your strengths? Double down on those, bet on those, and try to like mitigate the weaknesses.
Yeah. Every tribe has its own language. And the first thing you have to do is obviously learn the language of the tribe. But once you got that, you want to start incorporating words that become common for that tribe to use that you invented. So in the book, it talks about that. It talks about having your own thing called your own name. And so when people think about you, they think about this. And by the way, one of the things that they don't talk is like another book, but it's for every brand that you have, there's an invisible word for every thing that your brand stands for. There's an invisible word to the marketplace. So when you think about Mercedes, people, the invisible word is engineering. BMW, it's driving. Volvo, it's safety. Those are the hidden words that your brand stands for. And so you want to be cognizant of that. What are you setting out that way? But also to start your own language to think. So category that I invented that didn't exist was pH perfect. So now that will become part of the vocabulary of the tribe. Is that a pH perfect product or not?
Got it. Even like how the water now, like pH balanced water.
Sure, K water, alkaline, yeah, exactly.
Water, now it's the
Yeah.
category.
And but okay, alkaline water is Kangen water, right? They're the ones that kind of did that. So you kind of think of K water, right? That's kind of the thing that's out there. And but yeah, you want to invent your own, and you're doing that exactly. What you said triggered that memory in my head. You're already doing that, right?
Yeah,
like king frame and this kind of stuff. Yeah, and people someday will go, hey, yeah, man, I used a king frame. Well, that's you. That automatically goes back to you and your brand.
Got it. Nice.
Consciously or subconsciously. So it all works.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And thanks for recommending it. Thanks for sitting with me today.
Anytime, man.
Yeah,
Anytime.
gotta do this again. And then I want to try the Tesla. I love Elon Musk. I love Teslas. One day we gotta go for a ride. All right, guys, that's it for now. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. The YouTube links are below. Big Mike's Instagram, which is
at Marijuana Don.
At Marijuana Don. Take a look, subscribe. Awesome pictures, awesome lifestyle, awesome stories. We're gonna be doing more of these in the future, and I hope you guys enjoyed it so far. Leave your notes in the comments or any questions you have in the comment section below. That's down there. We always try to answer them and respond to them as quickly as possible, as many as possible, all right? So that's it for now. Keep in touch and don't be a stranger. Cheers.